Kenya has ambitious plans to add 3,000 megawatts of additional power to the national grid by the year 2017 and also spend about $2 billion in upgrading the current systems. Now, this is expected to lower power utility costs as well as bring power more closer to the people, as Elayne Wangalwa found out. Kenya is stepping up its efforts to ensure it upgrades the country's power distribution systems in order to spur industrial growth. This was established during the 17th edition of the East African Power Industry Convention in Nairobi.
We've got the expected cost of power generation at the back end of that plan, where generation is happening. We've got to look at the expected cost of power generation. We've also got to look at adequacy, that's meeting demand. We've also got to look at security, that's reliability. Are we going to have the right quality of power to do what we need? Do we have sufficient quantities, and at what cost? Those are the three parameters that actually drive what kind of mix are you going to work with, okay? And optimizing that and having that system being, that design being as flexible as possible is actually a very important parameter in driving economic development.
With an installed capacity of slightly over 2,000 megawatts, the government seeks to more than double this in less than 2 years and quadruple it in the near future.
The policy which we're using is the energy policy from 2004. This is the sessional paper number 4 of 2004 on energy. And some of the issues that are encapsulated in that policy and which we have undertaken include unbundling of the sector in order to improve the delivery of services to the citizens of this country. And in the case of electricity, you are aware, for instance, that initially we started by unbundling the generation sector, and we have since moved from that and unbundled the transmission sector. And the new kid on the block in that regard is Ketraco. They've been around for a while now. But government is also committed under this policy, the energy policy of 2004. Government is also committed to undertake feasibility studies on behalf of investors. So like in the case of geothermal, wind and hydropower, there's quite a few feasibility studies that the government has already undertaken. And these are then availed to investors who are interested in investing in these areas.
We were talking about having 17,000 megawatts of installed capacity by the year 2030. And we would therefore have an active utilization of 15,066 megawatts. What that means is that the difference is going to cater for the reserve margin. Now, today, we've got a peak of 1,520, okay? And we think it's got some suppression in it. It could be higher. But look at what the projection was saying. The projection was saying that we would be somewhere like 2,000 megawatts. So we're 500 megawatts behind in demand creation. 500 megawatts demand creation gap, of course, would mean that the cost per unit of energy is a little higher than where it should be. If we had the demand at that level, we probably would be utilizing all our power stations in a different mix.
This time round, Kenya is moving from its traditional source hydropower to geothermal, wind and nuclear power. With these ambitious plans, the government will require funds for its various projects.
For a win-win situation, we need both the public and the private, and this is through the government, to ensure that there is involvement. But participation of the public provides a mechanism that allows their views to be put into consideration. People need to know, why is this project being implemented? What are the benefits? The public also have their priorities. Sometimes there's that feeling that maybe their priorities are not being met, and therefore their input is quite important. And the moment you involve the people, it has been seen that the project normally becomes much easier to implement. Then there's also transparency. When there's no transparency, the opposite of that is, is some sort of dissent from the same people that you want to benefit from the project. So it is important, therefore, to have very clear information going to the public so that they feel that the project is for their benefit.
However, some analysts have expressed concern over the government's plan on the additional megawatts.
I don't think that target would be quite feasible considering the current conditions that we are in right now. And also at the same time, we have quite a number of teething problems, even with the current grid system that we have right now. A lot of the population is still not connected to the national grid. And at the same time, even with the current connections, we still have a lot of significant downtime, especially experienced within the industrial customers. So I think that having that goal of 19,000 megawatts, it is quite aggressive. I would probably dumb it down to probably around 10,000 or between 10 and 15,000 by 2020.
Meanwhile, East African states are expected to connect their power lines in the coming years so as to improve supplies.
I think it's quite possible. We do have already a number of connections within the East African community. I think Kenya, for quite a long time, shared power with Uganda. And we also had, we do have plans of connections between Ethiopia and Kenya, and then also Kenya and South Sudan. So I do think that these are concrete steps being made to connect sort of national grids towards within each other. I think one of the key things that will do is that it will make power supply more sustainable, and at the same time we probably will not have a lot more downtime than we do experience now, because then you can export excess supply to other countries that do need it.